Hello, beautiful manifestors, and welcome to a little chat that we're going to have today about manifesting, law of attraction, and judgment. I know, judgment. Right, okay. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Julie Poole. I'm a law of attraction teacher, intuitive channeler, and best-selling author. So welcome, hello, thank you for being here. It's been a month exactly today since I last posted, and I am mindful I'd like to post a little bit more often, but it's been a crazy month. So the day after I last posted, which was the 16th of February. So on the 17th of February, the landscapers arrived to landscape my garden. Complete, total makeover. It went on for 3.5 weeks. It was quite disruptive. It was very noisy. It limited how much work that I could do, and I got a little bit behind. Now, I'm telling you this because it's relevant to today's chat. Today, we are talking about judgment. I want you to get yourself comfy, get yourself a cup of tea, cup of coffee, wherever you've got. I've got some water here today. And let's have a little chat about you, the way you judge yourself, and you, the way you judge others, and what impact that has on the law of attraction. What's judgment got to do with the law of attraction? All right, it's got everything to do with it, everything to do with it. Right, so you've heard me say before, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. Be the source of that which you wish to be and have. All of these sort of sayings basically mean whatever you are with yourself creates a vibrational frequency within you, and the law of attraction will mirror that back to you. Okay, so if we don't like the mirror, if we don't like what we're receiving, then we tend to kind of look outside and say that needs to change and that needs to change, and nothing changes. And then we get frustrated. So we're doing it a little bit wrong. What we want to do is look at what part of me is reflecting this back to me, not them, or that, or those, or anything outside of yourself. What part of me is reflecting that back to me? Now, that means that we've got to take responsibility, not blame. We don't want to be blaming, oh, so it's my fault then. Oh, well, smashing, right? No, it's not about blame, but it is about responsibility. And that can be the hardest bit. What you mean, I caused this? I didn't mean to. I know you didn't mean to, but you did. I did. We all do. So when we are stepping into this energy of, do I like what I see? Am I happy with the world? Why are people like this? Look at it within you and say, right, what part of this is reflecting back to me, an aspect of me that isn't quite fitting what I would like it to be. So what can I then do about it? So then we step into the doing. Now, why have I picked judgment as the title for today's chat? Well, it's interesting. There is a lot of chaos in the world right now. There's a lot of battle energy. There's a lot of division energy. Divisive. You're wrong, I'm right. You're right, they're wrong. We are judging. We are looking at the outer world with that perspective of judgment, which is a very human trait and it's a very normal trait, but it's not particularly helpful for us when we're trying to manifest and create our greatest life. Let me give you a little example. So I mentioned about the landscaping. It's finished now. There's a little bit of cleaning up to do, but more or less finished now. Now, I haven't got a huge garden yard space, but what I have was very dark and very boggy, doesn't get any sunlight. I like the sun. The sun is very good for us. But in the summer, when the sun gets a little bit higher, there is some sun. But on the whole, it's not a very sunny garden. On top of that, I've got nearly a 20-foot wall to the one side, and the sun comes from that side, and that wall blocks the sun. And that wall, most of it was red brick, and then above it is a 6-foot wooden fence. And then directly in front of me is the back of my garage, and the back of my garage is also red brick. Then there was a very boggy lawn, and then there was a very, very narrow path and a very tiny patio sitting area. Right, now I also have a big deck, a big balcony, because my house is split leveled, and that balcony is wooden deck, can get very slippery, and the space underneath it is almost a third of my garden and was unusable. So it's been a work in progress over several months. I started this back in November. I moved in October, and I had a builder landscaper come out and say, what can we do about the decking? Could we put a roof under there, like a polycarbonate roof, which we can make that space usable? So that's what we did. And then I discussed with him what I wanted to do with the garden. And I said, I want to paint those walls white to brighten it up. I want white paving, and I want to extend it and make it bigger. And I don't want any grass. I want fake grass, astroturf. And I would also like some raised beds. And I want them made of, not brick, but, what I call building blocks, and then rendered. Okay, I gave him the whole design, and he came in and did it. While I was waiting for him to come, I started painting all the fencing, about 50 feet of 6-foot fencing, painted that all white. I got a decorator in to paint all those red brick walls, and including under the decking, that was black, paint it all white. And it initially looked very, very stark. But once the plants came in and once the fake grass went down, then it all worked. Now, there's a little video of this on my community page. If you want to look at the post, I've put a little video. I didn't make it. The landscaper made it when he finished the project for his own page. And I loved it. He's managed to squash in 3.5 weeks worth of work into a minute and a half. But it gives you an idea. Right. It has impacted my work. I've managed to keep on top of my tarot readings on my other channel, but I haven't had a chance to come into this. So a few things have happened over the last few weeks for myself that I've experienced, but also that some of my clients have been experiencing, because many of you will know I've been back taking clients since the first week of January and taking clients up until Easter, and then I'm stopping for a few months. Okay, so when I'm working with clients, various things have been coming up over the last few weeks. And so let's stay with this judgment thing. Now, I'm a Virgo, some of you might know, very earthly, love nature, love being outside, love trees, love everything to do with nature. Right. And several people commented on that video about my new garden. Oh, I'm really surprised that it's so urban. Oh, I'm really surprised that there's nothing here for wildlife and fake grass, and oh my goodness, so hard. And I just observed, and I just thought, isn't it interesting the way that people judge me and think that they know me? Oh, well, she's a Virgo, she's a spiritual teacher, she's a law of attraction teacher, she's bound to be in harmony with nature, and her garden, her yard is going to reflect that. And it doesn't. And it surprised them. And I'm not offended by that. I wasn't upset by that. I created that garden for me, of what suits my lifestyle. And so, yes, of course, I love nature. I love trees. I love water. I love wildlife. Absolutely fabulous. I happen to live in a new town that is still being built. There's a lot of building going on. There isn't a huge amount of wildlife right in this place at this time, because the building is going on all around. And even if there were loads of birds and bees, I wouldn't be putting it in my garden. I've done it before. I've had so many gardens that I focused on the wildlife, make sure there was water, make sure there was a bug hotel, always have bird feeders. And it is a lot of work. It's a lot of maintenance. It's a lot of cleaning up. It also attracts rats and all sorts of other things. So I've looked at my life now, because really over the last, 40 odd years that I've been a grown-up, I have put my family first, my work first, loved my garden, and all of it was a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort. I got a lot of pleasure out of it. But these days, I'm now 61 and a half, and I am setting up my life for ease into my old age. I want it to be easy. That's my choice. That's what's right for me. So I designed a garden that was extremely easy. No grass to mow, nothing to clean. There's not going to be any mess because there's no encouragement of wildlife. There's not going to be loads of bird poop to clean up. There will be, from those bird feeders, when their seeds drop on the floor, all sorts of different plant coming up from those seeds that I've got to weed out. No, I've created a garden that's easy. So that's right for me. But it was surprising. Well, not really. How many people thought that, Julie Poole's bound to live in the middle of some beautiful countryside with incredible views and nature, and she's going to really focus on a nature garden, and she hasn't. Ooh, okay. They weren't criticizing me. They were just observing, and they were sharing their observation with me. But it was a judgment that I expect you to be like this, and you're not. And now I'm surprised. Right. We do it all the time, don't we? We do it all the time. Finishing off about that whole nature thing. I live in a city that is on the ocean. I have multiple beaches within 10 minutes of me. I have Dartmoor moorland within 15 minutes of me. I have an amazing country park within a 4-minute walk of me. I have plenty of nature that I can walk to or drive to very quickly. And yes, I need nature. And yes, I get out there. There's some beautiful places near me that I can go and spend time in nature. But I am going to maintain it. I can look at it, I can walk in it, I can enjoy it. I am going to mow any grass, and I'm going to prune any trees, and I am going to clean anything up. I've set my life up to be easy going forward. Spirit tell me I'm going to be travelling quite a lot over the next 5 or 6 years, and I could potentially be away for several weeks or even months. So I'll be here to maintain a garden. I've even got rid of all my pots. I had huge amounts of pots with flowers and plants, and plants and pots need watering twice a day when it's warm. I won't be here. They'll die. So you see, I'm thinking ahead. This is the way that I think. But I want to come back to this judgment thing. You see, people think that they know me. They assume, they judge. Right. Now, that's okay. We all do it. But what I want you to do is look at the way that you perhaps fit into your world, life, and society. We, all of us, love to be accepted for who we are. We love to feel that we fit in, that we belong. And many of us don't. Many of us feel isolated, shut out, closed off, lonely, nobody in the world around, and there are so many people in that situation right now. And I was talking to Spirit about this morning, because I was asking them, I said, I must do a video for my manifesting channel. What can I talk about? And they said, remember those several comments about how urban my garden is, how it's not geared for nature, and how could you possibly put in fake grass? And I just thought, oh yeah, okay. They said judgment. Talk about judgment. Because we need to understand when we judge others, that is a reflection back to us of the way we judge ourselves. And so if we're not liking the way that people see us, we are understanding they don't know the real us. They don't know our circumstances. They don't know what we like and don't like, unless we tell them, unless we share. By sharing, we open up our heart and our being and say, this is who I am. And so, right, if they're going to continue to judge, that's all right. That's their choice. But I want you to look at the way that we judge others without knowing the facts. If I said to you, potentially, and this is what Spirit have given me, I could be living in another country 6 months of the year. So why would I design a garden that needs watering and weeding and looking after when I'm not going to be here? You see? But you don't know that because I haven't shared that with you. And I don't have to share that with you. And so it's saying, right, let's imagine we haven't got all the information about somebody else. Let's imagine we don't know. Because do you know what? We don't know. We don't know why somebody does something, what led them to do it, what their background is, what their history is. We don't know unless they share it. So not everybody's going to share it. And that's all right. We're allowed to have privacy. We're allowed to be discerning on how much we share and don't share. So if we're going to assume then that you're wrong or right, or I expect you to be this, or I expect you to be that, and we haven't got all the facts, we haven't got all the information, then we are making judgments that are incorrect. So we've got a couple of options. We can try and find out, so we've got more information, so at least our judgments are correct, or we can try to remove the judgment completely. Not always easy, but can we try? Because a loving world is a non-judgmental world. Even if we have opposing views, even if we feel that's wrong and that's right, that's judgment. You see, the universe doesn't judge, and the law of attraction doesn't judge. The law of attraction doesn't say that's right so she can have it, that's wrong so she can't have it. The law of attraction doesn't judge at all. And this may surprise you, but neither does Source, and neither does your spiritual team. When we're in that light body, when we're in that loving energy, we don't judge anything. We just allow it to be what it is for whatever reason it is. Now, I was pulling this up earlier. So many of you have got my book, From Hoping to Having. This is the first one, The 3 R's to Create Your Best Life. In this book, there is chapter after chapter where I refer to judgment. Some of you will know that book is being completely channeled, right? In its entirety, no, about 90% of the contents of this book was channeled directly from Spirit. And I was pulling it up this morning. Let me read you. I just did I'm looking at my screen, which I don't know how to share it with you, sorry, just bear with me. But within this book, okay, I just typed into the find on Word, the word judgment, and it's come up a lot of times, okay? And so I just want to read you a few bits, okay? We've been taught that God is vengeful, judgmental, condemning, and punishing, right? And then I go on to say that it's not. The truth is that Source, God, or all that is, does not judge or condemn us. Neither does Source parent us, grow us, or answer our prayers for this, that, or the other. So judgment isn't there, okay? And I say judgment again here. When we return to Source, there's no judgment, no pearly gates, and no options for heaven or hell, depending on how good or bad we've been. There's only love, light, power, and energy. In another one, I'm saying about the different generations and the different eras, about parents, grandparents, and the way they interact with the world, each other, and those around them. And in their generation, in their era, their boundaries and judgments were set at a level of significant restriction. Another one here, as you observe, all right, we're talking in this bit about respect. A level of respect is based on your learning and others on their own. When you can see it from this perspective, you no longer need to react to their behavior. You can observe. As you observe, I suggest you observe your judgment and then try to remove it. In another one I've got here, let's imagine you observe the action or behavior from a place of non-judgment without control or expectation. In another one, an error in our judging, our judgment, our thinking. Okay, so basically what we've got is a lot in this book about judgment and trying not to judge. Now that's a work in progress, okay? And talking about my books, by the way, just to let you know, because I don't think I've told you, I've put all the prices down on all my books by around about 30%. I just reduced, the profit that I make down to a tiny, tiny bit because Spirit asked me to for a little while. Might be a month or two, I'm not sure. But they're like, we've got to get this out. The world's in such turbulence. Can you just make it more affordable for people? So like it was 20 and now it's 15, and it was 15 and now it's 12. Depending whether it's the paperback or the hardback or the I can't change Audible because Audible do their own prices, but I can change the print and the Kindle. I brought them all down on all three of my books to make it more affordable for you. So if you don't understand the law of attraction, you want to understand it, get these books, okay? The links are below if you want to look at that. All right, so let's come back to judgment then. So people were judging me as expecting me to have a certain things in my garden, which I don't have. And I was just observing that. It didn't bother me. It was their expectations were wrong about me because I didn't share, and I don't have to share. But judgment is something that separates us from other people. We separate ourselves. Earlier I was saying to you about the way that so many people are so lonely. It's this judgment and expectation. If we can try to remove it, just work on it, just set the intention, I'm going to reduce my judgment. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I'm not going to jump to assumptions, because the more I can just be in the flow of allowing people to be who they are, not knowing all the facts, and own that. I don't know about you. I don't know all your facts. I don't know all your history. Then that's when we can really step into the allowing people to be who they are without judgment, without expectation. When we do that, life mirrors that back to us when other people are not judging us. The majority of people who are isolated and alone have kind of stepped back from participating in social life because of previous judgments of feeling I don't belong, I don't fit in, people don't get me. So many of you will feel like that because I felt like that for a long time. But when we say, right, if people don't get me, I don't have to share everything of who I am, but I want to be the source of that which I wish to have. So I'm going to really work on reducing my judgment, just questioning it mindfully. Am I judging here? Am I assuming here? Have I got a certain expectation here? Is that right? Is it fair? Is it helpful? It's not. It's not. So you say to yourself, no, this isn't in my highest good. This isn't particularly helpful for me or for them. So can I just allow? Can I just say they are who they are? Because as I do that, I'm accepting them unconditionally. That will start to mirror back to me in my relationships, in my world. So I want you to really look at that. There was another example that I had in the last week or two from a client that was working with me, and she had judged herself to be a very caring person. She does a lot of work with abandoned animals, shelters, things like that, and judged herself to be a really caring, loving, helpful person. And yet the law of attraction wasn't flowing for her at all. And so I helped her by coming into her energy in a one-to-one session to find out what the block was. And it was very clear to me very quickly that yes, she cared for all these animals, she did not care for herself enough. Her care on herself was extremely low. So that's what was the block, and we were able to neutralize it. So that's another area I want you to look at. We judge ourselves to be kind, helpful, loving, supportive, there for people. That's everything that we're putting out. What are we putting in? Are we prioritizing our own needs, our own finances, our own well-being, financially, mentally, emotionally? In every area, are we prioritizing ourselves? Because if we're not, we're sending a clear message out to the universe of I don't matter. I'm not important. Everybody else is more important than me. Everybody else's needs matter more than mine. If you are struggling in any area of life, whether it's health, emotionally, mentally, energetically, financially, if you are struggling in life, look at it and say, am I putting the effort into myself that I'm putting into others? Because if I'm not, I'm neglecting myself. I am ignoring myself. I'm not seeing myself. I'm not seeing what I need. I'm not hearing what I need because I'm so focused on the other, of what they need. And what that is doing is saying to the universe, from myself, I don't matter, don't worry about me. So that wave of abundance that's available to us goes right past us because we're saying to the universe, I don't matter, they matter. You can't manifest for another, you can only manifest for you. So you block that flow of abundance that is everybody's right because you're not seeing your own needs. You're judging other needs to be more important than yours. So whether you are allowing yourself to dismiss your own needs because you don't see them, you don't hear them, you don't recognize them, you will find that the world reflects that back to you. Other people don't see you. Other people don't hear you. Everything is always a mirror. So look at life. Look at the mirror. Look at the judgments. Look at the assumptions and the expectations. Don't beat yourself up, but from a compassionate, loving heart, say this isn't serving me. And how can I better serve myself from a loving, open heart? In doing that, we find it easier and more healthy to connect with others in a way that is balanced for us and for them. So I want you to, over the next few weeks, really be mindful. It takes some practice. I still judge, but then I catch myself and I say, I'm assuming here. And I am judging based on what I think I know. And then I need to remind myself, but you don't know. You don't know. All right. I'll give you an example. This is a long time ago, but it's relevant. It's just popped in my head now. I was maybe around 30 years old, and I was running at the time a homeless hostel for 16 to 25-year-olds. And some of those young people were from care, and some of them were from probation. And interesting, we always had to do a risk assessment on anybody new that was coming in because it was a group home. I think there were 12 people living there. And I remember interviewing a prospective new tenant that was coming in, being released from prison. And, usually it was things like stealing a car or, minor crimes. These were young people who were chaotic and gone off the rails a little bit. But I'd never really dealt with anything more than that. And I remember sitting this young man down and saying to him with my form of risk assessing, could you tell me what you were in prison for? And he just looked me right in the eyes and he said, yeah, murder. And I remember thinking, oh my God, he's hugely dangerous. He can't live here. He's a murderer. This is a disaster. He can't come. Immediate judgment. immediate jumping to conclusions and immediate assumptions. And I could feel my heart racing, and I immediately felt afraid. And then I just tuned into spirit and said, what on earth? And they said, ask him some more questions and stop being afraid. Oh, okay. So I said, could you tell me a little bit about it? And he said, yeah, I murdered my father with a knife because he'd been abusing me for 10 years, from 4 to 14. He'd been raping me on almost a daily basis. And by the time I got to 14, I just couldn't take anymore. And I just grabbed a knife and I stabbed him, and he died. And I just thought, oh, okay then. Okay then. Now I've got a bit more information. My judgment dissolved. My understanding kicked in. And in terms of the risk assessment, I judged it to be no risk to anybody else in that group home. He wasn't somebody who was hugely violent that would be risk to anybody else. He snapped and was violent to that one person. And he was in prison for 10 years. 4 of them in a juvenile detention centre, and then the rest in a grown-up prison before he was released. But he was okay. And I worked with him for the next 2 years and helped him get on his feet and move his life on. But I remember clearly the way I judged that to be dangerous, a risk, and all sorts of things. But as soon as I knew more, I didn't see it as a risk anymore. So, as I said at the beginning, we can hope that we get more information. We can hope that friends, family, people we know and like will open up to us about all their facts and all their history and understand them fully about why they do what they do. But that in itself is a judgment. You need to tell me. Why do they need to tell you? It's their business. Can we not instead just recognize when we're judging, when we're assuming, and try to let it go and say, I don't know, I don't understand, but there will be a reason for that. So let's just allow. All right? So there endeth the lesson for today, if you like. All right? I want you to really look at the way you judge others and yourself, and the way that you may well put others over you, their needs, their wants over you. And understand that when you do that, you're saying to the universe, I don't matter. So the universe will mirror that back to you. Not as a punishment, but simply as is. The law of attraction is absolute, always. All right? All right. I am wishing you all a blessed day. You take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.